Hi, everyone. Good to see you. And planning, because it's Erev Tisha B'Av, I'm planning to teach a little bit about the metaphor between the dominating God, to put it mildly, um, and, um, and his loving wife, who may love him more than he seems to love her. Anyway, I've written a lot about this, and so those of you who plan to, you don't have to fast, but at least go to the synagogue or read the book of Eicha, because it's a horrendous book, really, when you think about God's treatment of Israel. And you can even look at it as a book which says to God, you're over the top in punishment. I mean, and especially chapter 2 of the book of Eicha. So, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the book of Hosea, and specifically chapter 2, where we have this metaphor of the abusive God and Israel as the abusee. I don't know if there is such a word, the abused person. So let me share the tape with you. Not the tape, the PowerPoint. Okay. So we have here a picture which is entitled A Prophet's Prophet. And in the background, you could see Hosea's wife, whose name is Gomer, who we'll hear about her in a minute. But anyway, she is with her 2 children here, who God really basically has negative things to say about them. But it's very interesting depiction of, just take a quick look at a close-up look of his face. He seems to be a very, very tortured man in this picture. So I'm going to start out with a little bit about Lamentations, all right? And in an article by Darren Guest, which is called Hiding Behind the Naked Woman in Lamentations, a recriminative response, right? The figure of Zion woman as used in Lamentations is problematic for female readers. She suffers utter humiliation at the hands of an avenging deity and provides the focal point for the guilt and shame of Israel. Despite claims that this metaphor was meant to humiliate the male community and stimulate repentance, the female figure provides an easy scapegoat behind which the male community may hide. Moreover, the metaphor is encoded with various stereotypical expectations and operates on a shared value system between writer and reader, who are probably both male, which are offensive and damaging to the female reader. And if you think about it, even today, some of you may have children in the Army or grandchildren in the Army, and even today in the Army, very often, when they're in their basic training and they're not doing what they should be doing, the officer in charge will say to them, you're behaving like a woman, right? And that's a put down, right? And that's a put down. And we probably know that from various sources. So you have here in Eicha, in the first chapter, Eicha, so in verse 21, Eicha hayta lezona kirya nemana malek ti mishpat tzedek yalid ba va'ata meratzchim. Alas, she has become a whore, the Zonah. The faithful city, Jerusalem, is now a whore. The city that once was filled with justice, where righteousness dwelt, at least in the past, but now they are all murderers, all right? And this is a description of her becoming, in other words, a Zonah, a prostitute, is the image of the city. And so she's a sinner, she's an outcast, a prostitute, she even is naked in some places. She's a nidah in there. A nidah is somebody who's a menstruant who has to stay away, and she's again an outcast. And she's also a widow. She's Eicha hayta ka'almana. She was like a widow. And so you have here an interesting picture by Hannah Rosenberg. She depicts the 9th of Av in Jeremiah's Jerusalem. By the way, Jeremiah is very often thought to be the author of, according to the tradition, of Lamentations, and there's a lot of stylistic things that are similar, but most modern authors, most modern Bible critics do not accept that, but traditionally that's the case. And I don't know if any of you know the name Julia Watts-Belzer, but she is a rabbi. She's, I think, a conservative rabbi. I've heard her talk at various conferences. A very impressive woman. And in her book, Rabbinic Tales of Destruction, you can see she's here in a wheelchair, Gender, Sex, and Disability in the Ruins of Jerusalem. And she talks about the book of Lamentations. And she says, the text describes her as a zonah, a word which rabbinic texts commonly use to describe a woman who engages in lewd or illicit sexual acts, zunut, all right? But the word zonah is specifically applied to women. In other words, so in rabbinic culture, men and women can both be stigmatized in engaging in prostitution, but the word is specifically applied to women, all right? So, and there is no equivalent terminology that characterizes a man as a fornicator, which is interesting. In other words, a man may be a fornicator, but there's no word for him, all right? We say zonah, but we don't really usually say zoneh, all right? So very often, rabbinic texts use the concept of zunut meaning prostitution, or bad behavior, right? Bad behavior to describe any kind of sexual intercourse that does not result in a valid marriage. So you could understand when God accuses Israel of being a zonah, then he is also saying that she is not being faithful. And you have in the Babylonian Talmud in Gittin 56b, right? And it says here, and he shall say, where is their God, their rock in whom they trusted? A quotation from Deuteronomy. And this is what the Midrash says about it in the Babylonian Talmud. This is the wicked Titus who insulted and blasphemed God on high. What did Titus do? He took a zonah with his hand, he took a prostitute with his hand, and entered the Holy of Holies with her. He then, the word with is missing here, with her. He then spread out a Torah scroll and committed a sin on it. Afterward, he took a sword and cut into the curtain. And a miracle was performed, and blood spurted forth. He thought that he had killed himself. As it stated, your enemies roar in the midst of your meeting place. They have set up their own signs for signs. Signs for signs? I think there might be the word sigh here, but I'm not sure. I imagine the word sigh would be here. I don't have the Hebrew in front of me. Okay, anyway, but the whole idea of what is the worst thing you could possibly do, and this may even remind you of what? A few weeks ago's Parsha, at the end of Balak, at the beginning of Pinchas. Do you remember the story there?
Mm.
When the Israelite man took the Midianite woman and in front of the whole community entered her, and then Pinchas took his sword and he killed both of them. And he then was given peace here. Here you have a similar story, but you have the enemy doing this to a zonah, and think about it, and opening up the Torah scroll and lying down on top of it with her, and then he takes his sword, right, and he cuts into the curtain. The curtain would probably be, so the curtain that might have given him some privacy, or the curtain that was the curtain between the ark and between the Holy and Holies and the rest of the people. It's a very, very horrendous picture that you have here. Okay, so the whole idea here is this Onah here, right? This Onah here is, we don't know if she's a Zonah, but she certainly is being raped. She's called a Zonah. She might be a prostitute, or she's actually just raped. And so you have here the idea of brutality, and the woman is forced to be involved in a sin. There is no rabbinic empathy with a woman, right? All that she is, as far as the rabbis is concerned, this raped woman is a marker of the nation's vulnerability, an instrument of the temple's rule. So she becomes a metaphoric woman, a woman who stands for what's happening to the violation of the entire people of Israel. Okay, and this is very interesting how metaphors work. Okay, now we finally come to Hosea chapter 1, all right? And afterwards we can look at the commentary on the name of, okay, so this is chapter 1, and then afterwards we'll look at chapter 2. Sue, would you like to read chapter 1? I'll make it a little bit bigger.
Okay. The word of the Lord that came to Hosea, son of Beeri, in the reigns of King Uzziah, Yotam, Achaz, and Chezkiah of Judah, and in the reign of King Jeroboam, son of Joash of Israel. When the Lord first spoke to Hosea, the Lord said to Hosea, "Go, get yourself a wife of whoredom and children of whoredom, for the land will stray from following the Lord." So he went and married Gomer, daughter of Diblaim. She conceived and bore him a son, and the Lord instructed him, "Name him Jezreel, for I will soon punish the house of Jehu for the bloody deeds at Jezreel, and put an end to the monarchy of the house of Israel. In that day I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel."
I stop there just for 1 second, because the sin that he's referring to of punishing the house of Jehu, right, is what we did with Jezebel a few weeks ago. In other words, Jehu was the king who, not the king yet, but he crowned himself king afterwards. He was responsible for having the eunuchs throw out Jezebel from the windows. This is the same Jehu. Go on. She conceived again.
She conceived again and bore a daughter. He said to him, "Name her Lo Ruchama, for I will no longer accept the house of Israel or pardon them, but I will accept the house of Judah, and I will give them victory through the Lord their God. I will not give them victory with bow and sword and battle by horses and riders." After weaning Lo Ruchama, she conceived and bore a son. Then he said, "Name him Lo Ami, for you are not my people, and I will not be your God."
Okay, so we have here a horrendous story. This is the background. The background is that Hosea is told to marry a prostitute. Her name is Gomer. And by the way, the fact that her name is Gomer is also a little bit suggestive, because Gomer sounds like what?
Or from more to finish, which is used in a sexual term.
Right, to finish, which is a sexual innuendo here. So the fact is that's okay. And she has 3 children, all of whom are named and named and given negative attributes to them. Jezreel, because God's going to punish Jehu for the bloody deeds of Jezreel, and Lo Ruchama, I will not have any compassion for Ruchama, Rachamim, right? Compassion, Rech, from the word Rechem even, which is womb. I have no compassion for her. I will never, give them a victory. And finally, the worst perhaps is Lo Ami, you are not my people. Lo Ami, Am is a nation. You are not my people. So this is how we begin chapter 1 of Hosea. And the reference probably, you can see here, I will accept the house of Judah. Hosea is presumably preaching to the north of Israel, which is going to be the first one to go into exile, right? And so in the Talmud, right, in the Talmud, the play on words of Gomer, right, is that intimates that all satisfied their lust, Gomrim on her. In other words, they're aware of the name that Gomer has this innuendo, all right? And the daughter of Diblaim, they say she had spoke Diba. They're playing around with the word that she spoke. Diba would be speaking negatively, right? So on the one hand, she's famous, right? They all spoke about her, but also she herself may speak negatively about others, or maybe she's a shrew, it's not clear. And Samuel says that she was sweet in everyone's mouth, all right? So in other words, all of these are sexual innuendos. It means that all who trod upon her like a cake of figs, all right? And finally, Rabbi Judah said they desired to destroy the wealth of Israel in her days, legamer, to destroy, okay? And so this whole idea of they're having a discussion about her in the Talmud in Masechet Pesachim 87a and b. So the rabbis, got off of in their study. This is almost like pornographic, thinking that you have in the Talmud about the imagination. And if you remember some of the imaginations we had about Rachav, right? Rachav, who saves the spies by bringing them here, who was the prostitute. We can see that the rabbis had plenty of time to feed their imagination about these women. Okay, and now we come to chapter 2, which is also a haftarah for Bamidbar, right? Which means we read this once a year, right? It's not something that's hidden away in the Bible for people who just happen to study the book of Hosea. This is something which is written once a year, okay? Barbara, would you like to read this?
Yeah, the number of people of Israel shall not be like the sands of the sea, which cannot be measured or counted. Instead of being told, you are not my people, they shall be called children of the living God. The people of, and I really can't read that word, the people of Judah and the people of Israel shall assemble together and appoint one head over them, and they shall rise from the ground, for marvelous shall be the day of Jezreel. Oh, call your brothers, my people, and your sisters, lovingly accepted.
Okay, so stop here. So in other words, the people of Judah, unlike the people of Israel, right? The people of Israel are now told, and it's not clear if we're talking about, does he mean Judah or does he mean Israel, and whatever. Anyway, we seem to have something positive here. They're not going to be called, you're not my people anymore, lo ami. They're now going to be called children of the living God, all right? And the same thing, your sisters, instead of being called lo ruchama, will now be called lovingly accepted, right? So in other words, so we now have things being positive. However, go on.
Rebuke your mother, rebuke her, for she is not my wife, and I am not her husband. And let her put away her harlotry from her face, and her adultery from between her breasts. Else I will strip her naked, and leave her as on the day she was born. And I will make her like a wilderness, render her like a desert land, and let her die of thirst. I will also disown her children, for now they are now a harlot's brood. In that their mother has played the harlot. She that conceived them has acted shamelessly, because she thought, I will go after my lovers, who supply my bread and my water, my wool and my linen, my oil and my drink. Assuredly, I will hedge up her roads with thorns, and raise walls against her, and she shall not find her paths. Pursue her lovers as she will, she shall not overtake them. And seek them as she may, she shall never find them. Then she will say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then I fared better than now. And she did not consider this. It was I who bestowed upon her the new grain and wine and oil, who lavished silver on her and gold, which they used for Baal. Thus I will punish her for the days of the Baalim, on which she brought them offerings. When decked with earrings and jewels, she would go after her lovers, forgetting me, declares the Lord.
Okay, what's your impression from this? Feel free to speak up. What anyone, just you could, your initial impression when you read something like this. Obviously, I've highlighted things in red to give you hints about what I'm thinking about here. But what's your impression when you read this?
Louise, like,
Louise? Oh,
no,
It's painting a very negative picture
Yeah.
of her. I mean, just she can't do anything right.
okay, she can't do anything right. What about God?
Well, he's washed his hands of her and is going to punish her.
Okay, so we have here a punitive God, right? Who,
With
that
totally
also-
unforgiving,
okay,
not looking at all what her motives might be, what she might have suffered.
And we don't know at this point if any of it was true.
you mean, is she even a harlot?
Right.
Okay, so okay. First of all, she's this is a metaphor, right? This is all a metaphor, right? By the way, there are those who would say, oh, it's just a metaphor. What does that mean? Oh, it's just a metaphor. It
I
means,
think that, oh, go ahead.
no, yes, Barbara.
Well, I think one of the things that bothers me is that we're seeing it through a voice which didn't know either. And I guess I don't believe in an all-knowing God, which is what's placing the Lord the ability to say these kinds of things, to do these kinds of things. You have to accept that God knows everything in order to be able to do that.
Okay, in other words, good. In other words, not necessarily know everything, but that God is the God, right?
Right.
Whatever he does is okay, right? That's
Right.
the premise behind this. So
But-
that if God
Yeah.
treats Israel in this way, right, she deserves to be treated this way because she's going after her lovers. Who are her lovers? Are they lovers? They're not lovers. They're other gods, right? So
Yeah.
she's betraying God, and because she is, and remember, this is not a woman. This is Israel. Because Israel is betraying God, she could be punished. She could be disowned, right? She's not my
But I was just gonna say, isn't it amazing that we all accept the woman in the position, this terrible negative image?
okay.
We accept that.
I'll go one step further, right? Many years ago, I wrote an article about this. It appeared in Conservative Judaism. And for some reason, maybe he was on the editorial board, somebody wrote a horrendous companion piece to this, all right? Completely against what I wrote. And two issues later, David Blumenthal, who, Marsha, I see you're here, you may remember him from Ramaz,
he
right?
never says hello to me, never said hello to me.
Okay, forget about that. We're not talking about personal things.
No. But
No. Let's not go into personalities, but
I think God protests too much. Yeah.
okay, good. Behind there, there's a little, God is almost pathetic. If we want to look here, God is almost pathetic.
Yeah,
Right?
he's
Oh, my people have betrayed me, I'm going to do whatever it takes because they had no right to do that. There's a lot of stuff behind here, but none of you related to what I said. People will say, oh, it's only a metaphor, but
You
they're
mean,
not getting that metaphors have power
yeah, they do.
and
That's all.
Joyce, the metaphors we choose to describe ourselves, all right, that says something. Now, that's my answer to you. Why do we accept these metaphors? Well, because we like the idea, oh, God, we're married to God. God loves us. We love God. God loves us. But what happens when a marriage goes bad? Then the marriage metaphor becomes very problematic. Okay, and this is one of the things I'm trying to point out to you.
Well,
Now,
who is we?
what do you mean?
Ah,
Who is we? Okay, let me just show you. Let me show you why this became so important too, right? Let me try to explain to you why I haven't finished. I haven't finished. I mean, not I haven't finished. Chapter 2 hasn't finished.
uh-huh.
Because if you continue reading chapter 2, this is a very, 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 very famous ending of chapter 2. Okay. By the way, I noticed that the Haftarah ends here. Okay. Let me wait. That I should have a different color for it. I'll just make it.
Oh,
I'll make it just bold. Okay. So let's just see what happens with the Haftarah, with the ending here. Okay. In that day, right, I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, and the creeping things of the ground. I will also banish bow, sword, and war from the land. This sounds like Isaiah, doesn't it, right? Thus I will let them lie down in safety. And now we come to the very famous words, and I will espouse you forever. I will espouse you with righteousness and justice, and with goodness and mercy, and I will espouse you with faithfulness. Then you shall be devoted to the Lord. Does anyone know when are these words recited?
When you put on tefillin.
When you put on tefillin in the morning. These are the words that you put, that the male or the woman, today women also put on tefillin, but once upon a time it was only men. And I could tell you actually an anecdotal story in a minute about women putting on tefillin, but okay. Let's assume for the time being that women don't put on tefillin, but the man puts on tefillin, and as he is winding the tefillin around his hands, he recites this, and he's being bound to God, but his being bound to God also is a form of emasculation because he's turning into a woman who's being bound to God, right? And so you have this whole idea of, and think about being bound with the black straps and everything. I don't want to put into your mind anything pornographic, but think about, bondage and whatever, okay? So this is recited, and this is God saying he loves us. Also earlier, he also says there will be no more Baalim, right? And you will now call me Ishi. You'll be my man, not my Baal, not my husband. You'll be my man, implying some sort of equal relationship, okay? So as I said, the Haftarah ends here. In that day, I will respond to the sky, it shall respond to the earth shall respond with new grain and wine and oil, and they shall respond to Jezreel. I will sow her in the land as my own, and take Lo Ruchama back in favor, and I will say to Lo Ami, you are my people, and he will respond, you are my God. Okay, so the ending, the so-called happy ending is that he takes her back and he espouses her forever and ever. However, as I point out in many places that I've written over the years, on condition that
you will be devoted to God.
that she'll be devoted to him, right? In other words, that she's not going to do it again, right? So,
Not in the same way.
so this is the way the metaphor works. God is to Israel, right? As a husband is to wife, as Hosea is to Gomer, right? So this is the way the metaphor works, right? Like God is like a husband, right? Israel is like a wife. Hosea, God is like Hosea. Gomer is like Israel, who is constantly looking for fun elsewhere, right? She wants to go on. She wants to move away. And this, by the way, is a central part of my chapter on wife beating, by the way. When I talk about the article is called The Metaphor and Battery. So anyway, you have here really a fascinating picture here, which is called The Color of Prophecy, right? The Bride of, I love the title, The Bride of Hosea Stein, right? Bride of Hosea Stein, I can't pronounce that word, betrothal and exile. And so you have here this amazing, amazing image here, right? Notice the tefillin. You see the tefillin, the box here, and you have here all of the, right? You have here. No, it's not. It's not actually. It's Hinei Anochi Lefateha V'Halachti Bamidbar V'Dibarti Al Liba. I will get her to come into the Lefatot
To seduce her or to tempt her.
seduce or tempt her. Okay? I'll tempt her to coming into the Midbar, into the wilderness. I'll bring her in the Midbar, and I will speak to her heart. Okay, that's the right. And you have here. Look, you have the three children here. The three children. Right. And notice her eyes are already looking elsewhere.
But look how much smaller she is than he is.
And how much smaller, right? So this is like God. I mean, it really makes him ugly, right? And you can almost see this as a chain around her neck, right? It's very, 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 very problematic. And there are verses all over the place. So it's like here, Be'rasti Be'emunah, on the straps. See, on the straps, you can see that here. And the Yadat Adonai, and here you have here, yeah. So on the straps you have, and notice the straps follow like a talit, but they're also straps. You have all of these things. It's an amazing picture. Okay.
Naomi, are those tears out of the clouds, or what are those things?
They look like crying eyes.
Yeah.
Crying eyes. Yes, it's a terrible thing.
Those are eyes.
Now, and in the background, what's coming in the background?
The Egyptians.
The Assyrians.
Those are Assyrians. It
So
looks
the
like
Assyrians coming in the background.
I don't think it's
Yes, I think they're Assyrians.
Okay.
They look. I think so. When I can dig up a picture of Assyrians, they look much more like Assyrians than Egyptians.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is the whole description of what you have here. Anyway, let's go on. What you do have here, and I took this from the cycle of abuse. You have here a very similar thing going on, where you have the tension building up, right, between God and people. You have some sort of an incident that causes God to lash out, and then you have the makeup, right? The makeup sex, I'll be your God, and everything is wonderful. And then you have a period of calm till the next time when the tension builds up. And this is what we call the cycle of abuse. And I don't think I'm exaggerating. I'm not the only one to have noticed this. Anyway, Gail Yee, who I may have brought here before, actually talks about how the metaphorical vehicles describing God's punishment of his wife to make her repent became dangerously similar to acts of domestic violence, right? And God strips her naked, makes her like a wilderness, kills her with thirst, isolates her, refuses to provide for her well-being, humiliates her, and so forth, right? Just as God isolates Israel from her lovers, so does Hosea segregate Gomer from her paramours, and even refrains from sexual intercourse with her himself. Not sure where she's reading that, but that's, I'll trust her for that. Okay, so here you have here, very interesting, where you have a close-up of Hosea receiving money, and here the impression is he a pimp, right? And I'm not going to show it to you, but I have in the past, I've shown you the YouTube where here's Hosea, he's sitting in the front of his house, while inside men are coming in and out. And he's clearly having a pimp, and then some guy comes, and while they're waiting, they have a whole discussion. And he says, no, my wife is not a prostitute, right? The guy's waiting to go in, and they hear noises inside, right? Sexual intercourse noises. No. And he actually said, it's just a metaphor, right? It's just metaphoric prostitution. So even the Yehudim Ba'im in their satire on Hosea managed to capture the whole idea of something being just a, okay. Now we come to Robin Cohen. I was very disappointed. She had an amazing website, which I went into this morning. It's not there anymore. Not there anymore. And I'm so sad that it's not there anymore. She had this amazing picture, which I'll show you in a minute, which was on her website. Nothing is there anymore. This was in 2010, right? That's I found this. And here is the picture, all right? And I finally found the artist his name was Cody F. Miller. And here you have Hosea and Gomer, right? Again, very interesting picture. Notice she's in red here. And you have these butterflies. I don't know what here. You have someone here who looks like Abraham Lincoln, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Which I don't understand. Anyway, very suggestive picture. And here's another picture that we have here. Most of these pictures she actually had on her website, but I mean, you can find them on. You can find them. I found others as well. And here's another one with Barry Moser, who I think he actually may have sent it to me, or I found him. I don't remember how I got that one. That was not on my website. And here's another one. And then you have even songs about her. You have songs about her. She sings, we're not going to listen to it, don't know what he sees in me. He's spirit, he's free. And I, the wife of adultery, Gomer is my name. And then it goes on to fool to love someone like me, right? It's very interesting poetry that we have here. We're not going to really look at that. And then here another song, Gomer's theme by a group called Her Day, right? Here's the idea is that he's forgotten that she ever went away and broke his heart, right? The whole idea of her breaking his heart, right? And that it captures what some of you notice here, that God is seen as, oh, poor God, he's brokenhearted. His people are abandoning him. There's something very pathetic about the prophet, right? That his love doesn't love him, and we feel sorry for him, right? And here's another one, which I just put in because I just love the whole idea of it, where the idea is you should forgive the faithful, right? Hosea's wife is on a Christian website, and he writes on the church door, right? She participates in activities that go against the Christian religion. And Hosea is very scared and worried for her and the safety. He simply writes on the church door, "Dear Gomer, I want you back. So do the kids. Hot soup is on the stove. We miss you. Love, Hosea." In other words, God's faithfulness, God faithful is who is like, that's Hosea. It's like God. He's faithful to Israel. Even though she's a prostitute, he wants to stick with her, all right? And so because there's marriages need to come back to each other and forgive. So God's love for his people is so strong that he can bring the lost love back. So this is, and then we have those of you there are two of you from the connected to the Park Avenue Synagogue here, both Jackie and also not Jackie, sorry, Steve. Why did I say Jackie?
Oh.
Stevie and Lita. So you had Milton Steinberg, who used to be the rabbi of the Prophet's Wife, known for his very well-known book As a Driven Leaf, which has also been translated into Hebrew, about Elisha ben Abuy, a wonderful, wonderful book. I totally, if you've never read it, you should take it out of the library today. I'm talking about As a Driven Leaf. The Prophet's Wife is something else. but the dripping leaf, you probably can even find it on
It's in the
anyway.
library. It's in the library too.
I'm sure it's on all sorts of library, in all sorts of, oh, Doris, you're here as well. So you also, 3 people for Park Avenue Synagogue, I hear. So, okay, so Milton Steinberg wrote a book which was released posthumously, all right, which he retold the story of the prophets Hosea and his wife Hordem. And all the people know that he based Gomer on his own wife. Steinberg based Gomer on his own wife, and that's why it was never published while he was alive, right?
Oh.
And it came out later. And then the Park Avenue had a whole thing, what do you call it, book launch for the book, and it came out. And anyway, so there is a retelling, all right, a modern retelling of the book. I think it came out in the 90s, no, in the 2000s. I don't remember exactly when. And in an article that was written about about the book, there's a reference to my article, God is Israel as husband is to wife, the metaphoric battering of Hosea's wife, which has been reprinted in various places. So it's a well-known article by people who write about it. So the whole idea is that you have here what we call post-biblical literature, where you have retellings of biblical stories, and that's exactly what he did. He basically took his own life. It was an unhappy marriage, I understand, and he turned his wife into Gomer. I still have not read the book. I should really try to get a hold of it and read it. But I heard that the book was not so interesting, so I didn't really feel like paying real money for it. So I'll try to take it out. I now have a new website where I can find books.
Used bookstore. Used bookstore.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'll find it. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I think you should pay money for it, and we'll all chip in.
No, you don't have to. No. I by the way, I have this thing.
Makes you think differently about him.
No, I don't buy books. I'll tell you why I don't buy books. I only read on Kindle, and if I buy a book, I don't read it. But if I take it out of a library, I do. Why? Because you have to return it in 2 weeks.
Oh, no.
So if I buy a book, I don't read it because I can read it whenever I want. So I'll find it either in a library and
but you have to share this one, so it's okay. I give you.
No. I'm not asking for handouts.
No. I'll see if our used bookstore guys.
But what's interesting, and as Gail Yee points out, Gomer is silent, right? She's silent. She's mute, right? She's only remembered as Hosea's unfaithful wife. So the question is, what if she would be talking, right? And Norman Rosen actually in her wrote a Midrash where she actually has a conversation where she gives Hosea a brother and she gives Gomer a sister, and they are like opposites in pair. So Gomer is proud and impetuous, and her sister Maluti is thoughtful and prudent, right? And so she learns of Gomer's disgrace and divorce, and she seeks him out and pleads for her sister. And you could look for the Midrash in Norma Rosen's book. But I have something more interesting here.
Naomi?
Yeah.
New and used hardcover, Kindle, and paperback on Amazon. I posted the link.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, great. Okay. Anyway, so we have here, I just took a little part of it out of here. But in the end, Hosea is influenced, right? He's influenced by both Maluti and Edo, and he takes Gomer from the house of Edo. And in the end, Gomer has a strong woman's voice. She's no longer silent, and she lifts her children's faces to heaven and added Amen. Now, I have here Robin Cohen's imagined dialogue between Hosea and Gomer, but I only have Gomer here for the shortness in time. However, we have enough time to read the whole thing. So I'm going to share with you. Oh, hi, Norman. I thought you were out of the country. Okay, let me just share with you the complete dialogue. And great, now that Norman's here, we can have a male voice reading Hosea, okay? And Marcia, I'll have you read, but no comments, just read. Marcia,
All right,
read.
I'll behave.
You'll behave yourself. Okay, so Norman, okay.
Okay, I'm on my phone, so I hope I can read this. I had to do something unexpected to get my message out there. I only said what God told me for the sake of argument. God has done this before. Isaiah was required to walk naked in the street. Jeremiah could never marry or attend a funeral. Ezekiel was told not to mourn his wife's death, and Isaiah also gave his children symbolic names to herald future events. My outburst was a poetic device for discussing social anarchy. Despite my strong language, I was denouncing the immorality of the ruling elite and calling to attention their political greed and egregious national policies.
Only other men could identify with your outrage and could possibly perceive your reactions as plausible and legitimate. Perhaps buying my body to teach Israel a lesson, thinking our marriage is just an allegory and using our children as props, rather than acknowledging them as real, perhaps this helps you deal with your own aversion to your threats and the state we are in. What in the image of a humiliated woman and abused children have to do with God's love for a people? How can you advocate repentance with obscene words?
The sexual imagery proved suitable to express the chaos and dishonor that was sure to descend upon Israel, just as chaos and dishonor followed me when you failed to conduct yourself properly. I am the true victim here for being driven to extreme measures because you have again and again dishonored me, just as Israel has shamed God. I was acting well within my rights as a husband. If God's covenant with Israel is like a marriage, then a husband's physical punishment of his wife is as warranted as God's punishment of Israel.
This is self-serving lore to justify your need to control and punish women. You are just trying to exonerate yourself and God for any appearance of being harsh, cruel, and vindictive. How do you justify threatening to leave me naked and starving in the wilderness?
When God decided to espouse Israel forever, it was so that the people would know only God. When I decided to marry you, it was so that you would know that only through an intimate, meaningful relationship can God be known. If Israel wants to know more than just God, and if you want to take the fruit from the tree again, then you must be expelled from the Garden of Eden, stripped naked, and left as on the day you were created.
Both you and God are accessible, but only on your own terms. You married me on purpose because of my promiscuity, not in spite of it. So, what if I did have more than one partner? Stop whining. You know what I was like. You knew what I was like when you married me. You were just afraid of my sexual independence.
Lime water.
After the, did I leave something out?
No.
After the way you dismissed the children and me, I ran away in protest. Satisfying my own needs was a statement that my sexuality belongs to me. I challenge the belief that a wife is too exclusively sexually devoted to her husband who has no such restriction. I am not dangerous and in need of a man's control. Now I am in charge of my own fertility and sexuality. I make my own choice of partners, not for the benefit of a husband or his good reputation, but for the satisfaction of my own desires on my own terms. Remember, my name means fulfilled.
Regardless of your nature, your soul is at great risk. Are you sure that your persistently pursuit of other lovers is not a hollow protest? Is life really only about satisfying your own needs? What if marriage is staying together not just for selfish reasons? With true commitment, we weather the storms of life together instead of fleeing at the first dissatisfaction. Where is the love and comfort in transitory relationships? Deep down, is this really who you want to be? I forgave you. It was illegal to take you back, but I brought you to the wilderness anyway, bearing gifts and whispering sweet words to you. No matter how bad things get in a marriage, there is always a possibility of forgiveness and a happily ever after. In the same way, God loves us so much that after punishing us, the Almighty will forgive us and reunite with us.
It's a lovely portrait, but what is the cost of believing that message after a profound breach in trust? How can domestic abuse be redeemed through romance, seduction, and courtship? That such violence passes for love is a telling commentary on societies in which domestic violence against women and children is so customary that it has attained the status of unexamined norm. I didn't consent to any of this. There was no discussion. You were just proving yourself to be superior to your depraved wife by taking me back when you could have stoned me.
Oh, I think.
Yeah,
How
your
about-
turn.
Yes.
I'm only suggesting.
Hello,
You see that here?
do you hear me?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We hear you.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
I am only suggesting that it is possible to recover love, romance, and intimacy in relationships that were once torn apart.
To you and God, marriage means forever, even if it doesn't work out. I feel trapped in this marriage. You have made a terrible assumption that God's people must suffer in order to be entitled to a loving relationship. However provocative, enthralling, and entertaining your words are, as a listener, I have the right to reject provocations that diminish my humanity.
Help me, then, to name the power in the world that terrifies and overwhelms me. How can I repair the rupture between us when I am so afraid?
Start by realizing that your words and actions have consequences. Take responsibility for what you have threatened. As long as women continue to be brutalized, the metaphor of a battered wife should be challenged. Find an ethical model for forgiveness. I will only think of risking love again when there is no threat of violence.
So, so you have this very interesting dialogue, right? Which,
We make a good team.
what? Very good team, yeah. So I think when we did this last year, I only had you reading Gomer because we were at the end. It wasn't enough.
No, it's much better with the two.
It's much better with the dialogue.
No, and it's very thought-provoking. My goodness.
So, and if what she did, what Robin did, is she took different, writers, including myself, and she using their work, to. I think it's brilliant on her part. I have no idea why she took down her website. I mean, she has a new website, but all the stuff that she had on it earlier, maybe she turned it into a book. So maybe she didn't want to have all of her earlier postings on, because maybe she's put them into a book and is trying to sell her book. I have no idea, but it was such a wonderful, wonderful website. So, I'm really very sorry that, that she took it down. She had so many wonderful insights, and she also had, pictures accompanying every possible, and even though her name is Robin Cohen, I don't think she's Jewish, because now mostly on her website, she only has things pertaining to non-Jewish topics. So not the Hebrew Bible, but mostly apocryphal things. Anyway, what are your thoughts about all of this? I'm very curious to know what you think about this.
Not much has changed.
That's what's very scary.
And it's timely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It's timely.
Yeah, the allegory of God and Israel and man and wife and sexual violence, it's, you know,
Mm.
unfortunately,
there.
not going away.
Right.
Okay. I thought maybe since we started, well, I'm gonna put up a little bit of, wait, why don't I see it? Looking for Echa here. Here's Echa. I thought I would put up a little bit of Echa, but just since we started with Lamentations, I thought it might be interesting to just look at which I find to be the most horrendous of chapters, which is chapter 2. But does anyone have other comments to make? I don't want to cut you off. I thought it might be interesting just to take a little bit of a look at, again, I strongly suggest if you have time, it's on Sunday, so I mean, even those of you who are still working, theoretically find time to read the book of Lamentations, to make yourself not feel very good. But so anyway, this is chapter. I think I could do it side by side. Let me see if I could do that. Yeah. So on the left we have the Hebrew. On the right we have the Hebrew. So you have a lot of the images. I'll make it a little bit bigger. A lot of the images that we have here are, very similar, right? He shamed Zion. God is angry, right? He doesn't remember. Well, it's interesting. The Hebrew is Hadon Raglov, referring to us as the people who are worshiping him from down below. But the English, his footstool is something like, someone who can be stepped on and who's used. It's a horrible translation, right? And God has laid waste without pity, raised in his anger, right? Brought low the kingdom and its leaders. Now here, this is all in the, you don't see it so much in the Hebrew, in the English, because you have it fair Judah, but in the Hebrew it's a bat Yehudah, so it's really the daughter, right? The daughter of Judah, which is translated as fair Judah. I have a feeling that they wanted to, they might want to cut down the images here, right? So the whole idea of cutting down, right? Ravaging, consuming, right? Using the bow, killing, all right? Again, fair Zion, but again, fair Zion is Bat Sion, the daughter of Zion, right? Not so much fair Zion, but the daughter, right? And God has acted like a foe. In other words, the whole idea of looking at Israel as an enemy, right? What kind of God is this, right? So you have here a whole bunch of things here which are really very, very problematic, right? And all the time, the breach of the city, right? The breach of the city is very much like a rape, right? When you breach a city, and very often that is, you have words like rampage, which sounds a little bit like rape. Also, it's not exactly the same, but it's the the whole idea. And then it's very clear here. Now it says her gates. Now we're they're not hiding it. They can't. Right? Her gates have set. Right? He has smashed her bars to bits. Her king and her leaders are in exile. Right? Her prophets don't have a vision. Right? And on the ground, all the people are sitting. The elders who are men here, that's for sure. All right. And you have the maidens of Jerusalem, and her eyes are spent with tears. She's melting away. Babes and sucklings language. The mother is mourning over the fact that you have babies who are languishing. And those of you who read my blog, I actually refer to this in contemporary terms now. They're asking for food, and their life runs out in their mother's bosom, all right? And so you have here the whole idea of God is basically being accused here, is being accused of, what I call overkill, all right? And the whole idea of you're giving into delusion and folly and being exposed again, right? Being exposed. Have all of these images here, and finally making fun of them. Oh, fair Jerusalem, right? What was so scholar arts, who was acclaimed by everyone. Now everyone is hissing, right? Hissing and wagging their head. The Hebrew sharku, right? You can hear the whistling, the hissing, and all of the enemies. It's almost like witches being burnt, in the Middle Ages in the square, and everyone comes and looks at them and cheering at them and hiss, 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 and gnash their teeth, right? The Hebrew is sharku, yaharku shein, right? The whole idea of, and this is the day we hope for, and we have lived to see it. And God has ordained without pity. He's let us down. He exalted our enemies. This is what you can read if you have the guts to read it. Goes on and on and on. And then we have a switch, by the way. We have a switch after the first two chapters, which are full of metaphors concerning women, negative metaphors about women. And then in chapter 3, we suddenly have, I'm the man, Ani HaGever, right? And it's a completely different tone there. And you can read it for yourselves and see what it's all about, because it's a completely different tone. And whereas the woman is trying to say, oh God, how could you do this to me? The man is sort of justifying it and saying, oh, well, maybe I am responsible for the guilt. Maybe I did something wrong to bring it upon myself. All I have to do, because I sinned, is go back to God, and then God will take me back, and then everything will be hunky-dory, which is a very, quick take on chapter 3. And then chapter 4 and 5 will go back to the same tone. So you have one voice of men who are in the middle, and on the bookends you have chapter 1 and 2, 4 and 5, which are all in a woman's voice. Okay, anyone want to comment on that? Sorry if I ruined your day, but it is Erev Tisha B'Av, and we're in the 9 days of, the 9 days. So, anyone want to comment?
Isn't that what we read in the shul on Tisha B'Av? The Lamentations?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, okay, I thought so, and you said get a chance to read it before, so.
No, I'm saying those of you who may not go to the synagogue, I'm just saying. But those of you, will be reading it either Saturday night or Sunday morning when you repeat it. It's not enough that we read it once, we read it twice.
Yeah, I know. We read it both days, but I'm only going to go once.
Right, well, you don't have to read it twice.
Once is enough.
Once is what we're planning to do this year, I don't know how it's going to work out. It's going to go on forever. Thank God I usually read chapter 1, so I'm finished with what I do. But the rabbi is planning this year to have a discussion after each chapter, rather than do it all at once. So it will go on forever and ever.
Yeah, but it breaks up the day. I find the discussions on the keynote and even on Eha, it breaks up the day because it's a long day.
Oh yeah, no, I have no problem with it. It's just that we're starting at 8:30 at night. Or even 9 o'clock. I don't remember.
We're starting at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, ours is 9 o'clock too.
Because it's after Shabbat. So anyway, I just want to share with you something pleasant. Today is my Hebrew birthday, and today I turn 82. And next week, August 7th, is my English, is my regular birthday, and my kids are making a party for me. So at this time, we won't be studying next week, but we will study 2 weeks from now. I'm not planning to take off, so I mean, those of you who are on vacation, feel free not to come. But I will continue posting this. I really want to get as many posted as possible, so that if they're on my website. And hopefully next year I'll start doing new material, but I don't promise because I want to really get all, I want to get all my old stuff on. So, and for some of you it's new, so it doesn't really matter. So have a good one. Geraldine, yes.
Before we go, I want to ask Toby if she would lead us in song.
Happy birthday to Naomi.
Oh, in song. Okay.
Yes, and Carolyn as well.
We do this on Makom B'Yachad, sure. And we always do it peppy and not dirgy-like. So
Only one per all of you. I hate that.
yes.
Okay, well,
sounds
Naomi,
wonderful.
you don't have a choice, Naomi.
It's a beautiful cacophony of love.
Okay.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
you.
Happy
birthday
to
you.
you. Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Naomi.
Naomi.
Happy
Happy birthday to you.
you.
Many more.
And many
Okay, that wasn't so bad. Thank you. I'll see you in,
Practice.
see you
We're
in 2
practicing.
weeks. I'll see you.
All
In 2
right.
weeks. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom,
shalom,
everyone.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
Stay
shalom.
safe.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
Bye bye.
Yes.
Shabbat shalom.